Hi there, Dr. Andrea Schnowske. I'm here from Freedom Chiropractic and Holistic Health in Peoria, Illinois. And I know I'm really excited this year because obviously we had a fresh new name change beginning of the year. But I'm really excited because I feel like now that we're starting a new year, everybody has great health goals. Everybody has specific things about their health that they want to improve this year. And one of the things that I hear the most in my office is people that are wanting to lose weight. And sometimes it's not really about losing a ton of weight. Sometimes it's about just trimming and slimming up and feeling better about your body. So what I want to do tonight is talk a little bit more about kind of the weight loss program I'll be launching in my office this year. And one of the things that I have found is, in the past years, I've struggled with weight loss my whole entire life. And, one of the things that I've noticed is a lot of the ways we measure our bodies currently. So things like BMI, things like our weight on a scale, things like the size of clothing that we wear may not always be picture perfect, may not represent what's in social media or what's in the media or even what's in magazines. And that's okay. But we need to make sure that we find out a way to, number one, make sure that we're getting our bodies healthy. So for some people, that may not be losing 100 pounds. That may be just trimming and slimming up, eating healthier, getting exercise in their bodies so that they can have number one, a healthier body, but also their body's able to get the right metabolism. They're able to enjoy the things they want to do. If they want to go play with their kids, if they want to play a sport, if they want to get back to the gym, they're able to do that. So really it comes down to what is healthy, and also how do we get to a certain point where we consider ourselves healthy, and how do we stay there for good. So tonight we're going to talk a little bit more about the 5 things that we are doing wrong when it comes to weight loss and getting to a healthy weight. We're going to talk a little bit more about some of the programs that are out there and available and some of the downfalls that I see with those. We're going to see, some of the shortcomings that are out there right now, and maybe even some of the things that we have been rock solid on, we've known our whole entire lives, might not be working in the direction that we need. For those of you that are males, you may notice for yourselves that, it's harder to get that right image. It may be hard to build the muscles that you want and actually get the body type and body shape that you want. And for women, it may be impossible to lose weight for you. You may have those ups and downs. You may have those yo-yos. We're going to talk tonight a little bit more about why that is and what we can do in our office to help with that. So I want to share a little bit more about myself. So I'm Dr. Andrea Schnowske. I'm a chiropractor, but I'm also a holistic health practitioner. So in my office, I focus on making sure that, number one, we know exactly what is going on with your whole entire health, not just your spine, not just your joints, but actually looking at your organ systems, looking at your digestion, your sleep, your mental health, because sometimes we may need some mental work to help with the physical side of our bodies too. So we're going to talk a little bit more mostly physical today, but for those of you that have other issues, we can sometimes, or maybe sometimes, need to look into the mental health as well and look at ways that we can help support that nutritionally and also with getting the right things in our body and the right things in our daily lifestyle factors to support that. So I'm going to show some pictures of myself here. Let me just share my screen here so you can see everything. Okay, there we go. So this here is kind of our presentation for today. So let me go ahead and get this up to speed. There we go. Okay. It's still loading, sorry. All right, so like I said, we're going to talk a little bit more about the 5 things you're doing wrong to lose weight. I already introduced myself, Dr. Andrea Schnowske from Freedom Chiropractic and Holistic Health here in Peoria, Illinois. But I want to share a little bit more about me. So my weight loss journey has been up and down, like a lot of people's that are probably here tonight, or maybe that have tried programs in the past. So this is me when I was in high school. I was an avid athlete. I literally was playing softball. I was doing basketball. I was an ice skater. I was pitching as well. So I literally was involved in at least 2 sports pretty much year round. I didn't have any downtime. I was constantly either exercising or in the gym or working out or staying active in some way, shape, or form. And if we look at BMI and we look at some of the ways that we've measured our bodies over time, I was always considered as obese, no matter what. And the reason is because of my height, as you may know, or maybe not, I'm pretty short. But, a lot of times, when I was playing those sports, I was constantly lifting weights. I was constantly having to build muscle to support those sports. And when you build muscle, you're going to weigh a little bit more. So for my height, my weight was always at least 50 pounds overweight from where I should have been. So we have to really kind of realize that even as an avid athlete playing sports, 2 sports per year constantly, I have always been told and I've always been viewed as obese. I've always felt like I was always too heavy. I was thicker. I wasn't really the weight and the body type that I wanted. But in reality, I've realized that it doesn't matter what you weigh now. We want to get to a healthy weight. So, like I said, when I was younger, obviously I was a little bit thinner. Over the years, things have changed. So, number one, I went to school and I met my husband there and we got married. And I was a little heavier set when I got married. Of course, pregnancy and gaining weight with a pregnancy, having kiddos. I have 2 girls. So I have my oldest daughter there in my arms, Cameron, and then my youngest, Tori, came along as well. After my first child, I actually lost some weight. I ended up doing a paleo diet. I joined CrossFit. I literally cut out pretty much any type of bread, carb, flour, anything at all that was wheat-based. I lost about 20 pounds in a month. However, when I stopped doing those heavy workouts and I stopped eating the exact same way, literally doing anything at all possible to avoid any type of sugar, any type of bread, I wouldn't even eat cake at that time. Yes, I lost the weight, but as soon as I started trying to, enjoy life or make food at home that maybe wasn't the healthiest, but was more of a comfort food, like lasagna or pizza, or even having cake at a birthday party or ice cream with my kids, I gained a lot of weight back. And then, of course, like I said, I had another child. So you can kind of see, I always say, when I lose weight, typically I lose it in my face first. So you can kind of see my face changes shape over time, with weight loss. So I've realized that over time, I've been up, down, up, down, up, down. And then I've got a picture here from a couple years ago, or actually 2 years ago, when my dad and sister came to town to visit. And you can see up, down, up, down. It's not really the most comfortable thing. But what I want to really get to you is when it comes to weight loss, we have to realize that we all have a starting point. We may have been up and down in years past, but we really need to figure out a system to support us now so that we can, number one, eat healthy, we can lose the weight that we want to lose, and we can learn how to maintain that so that we're changing our lifestyle and we're able to maintain that the rest of our lives. So what we're going to talk about tonight, like I said, for weight loss journeys, is that they're not always a straight line between school and, when you're sitting in classes all day and you're stressed out, whether it's from work or, deadlines and things like that, that stress is going to alter your hormones. And then, of course, when you get married, you have all this pressure on yourself to lose weight, to fit into this dress. And then, of course, you have all the stress of the wedding day. And then after that, it's like nothing happened. But then there's when you're in a marriage, obviously you have, relationship things that happen. We don't always see eye to eye in marriage. So sometimes you'll have stress from relationships. Sometimes you'll have stress from work, from family, from pregnancy. Your hormones are going crazy. And then, of course, you're gaining weight, which can be very, detrimental to your mental health a lot of times, especially if you struggled with weight loss. And then, of course, a lot of times, as we have a family, we run out of time for ourselves or we don't put ourselves first. We may be so, intent on getting the kids to school, getting to work, getting our deadlines met, getting home, making food, making sure the kids' homework's done, making sure they're bathed, making sure they're going to bed. We've got all these things on our plate, but we have to realize that that straight line loss, and getting to your healthy weight is not always realistic. So what we're going to talk about tonight is that we want to get something that is sustainable and permanent. So that's really what tonight is about, is we're going to talk about some of the things we've been doing incorrectly and some of the things that I've put together that I think is going to really make a huge difference to support you in your weight loss journey. And again, it may not be a straight line. That's totally okay. We want to make sure that we actually are able to change your lifestyle, change your thought processes, your eating process, your workouts, so that we can get something sustainable. So you can lose the weight and keep it off permanently and know how to keep it that way. So one of the things I always like to kind of ask is, what is your real goal for being here tonight? What are you really trying to learn, or why are you here? So for some of you, you're just trying to maintain your weight that you're currently at. You don't want to gain any. Maybe you've already lost some weight and you just want to make sure you're staying on the same path. Some of you may want to just trim up and slim up and just kind of tone your body a little bit, look a little bit more musculature. Some of you may want to lose a ton of weight. You feel like you're way overweight, you're the heaviest you've ever been, or maybe you're heavier than you'd like to be, and you want to drop that weight so you can feel healthy and be healthy again. Some of you may just want to find out, how do I increase my metabolism so I don't have to work so hard at keeping my body in the right place? And some of you are just ready for a change. You're ready to finally take those horns, jump on, and change your lifestyle and change your health for the better. And some of you may just want to learn something tonight. Maybe you're not ready yet to start weight loss, but you want to just get some new information. And then some of you may have been doing the ups and downs all this time. And you've done the trial and error. You've found what works, what doesn't work. And you just want to find out, is there anything else that maybe I didn't know that I might be doing wrong? So we're going to talk a little bit more about some of those errors so that you can correct those and get where you want to be for your health and where you want to be for your weight as well. So tonight we're going to talk about some obesity trends in the last 25 years in the United States. We're going to talk about some of the errors of those current weight loss trends and programs. We're going to talk about the 5 things you're doing wrong, and then we're going to talk a little bit more about that Freedom Healthy Weight program. So what I've put together is more of a resource to help support you through your weight loss journey. So not exactly a program, eat this, follow this, but we're going to talk a little bit more about what that means. So as we look at the United States, over the years, we have been having an expanding waistline. So people have been gaining weight, and we're seeing that obesity percentage go up. So as you can see at the very bottom of the screen is a colored graph showing different colors. Those colors are basically the percentage of people that are overweight in each state. So as we go through here, this goes all the way up to about 2010. I'm going to skip forward to just last year so we can kind of see a little bit more of where we're at. So as you can see by this graph here, over time, we have seen more and more people are becoming obese and are becoming overweight. It looks like most of the US right now is in that orange and red zone, which is going to be the 30 to 40% overweight percentage in categories. There's a few that are in that 20 to 25, but ultimately we can see there's a problem in the United States. So we're going to talk a little bit more about why that is and what we've been doing wrong as we kind of progress through. So obesity rates in children have also doubled. So a lot of times, when we see kiddos, everything from babies to adolescents to even young adults, we're seeing that we are getting heavier and heavier. We're even seeing the same thing in pets. So if we look at pets, we're seeing now that overweight is not only causing health issues for them, it's causing their livers and kidneys to work harder, their hearts to work harder. We're seeing enlarged hearts. We're seeing a lot more joint issues and spinal issues for pets as well. I know my cat actually, we just had to go a few months ago to the vet due to him limping. Turns out he's got some arthritis in his joints due to his weight. So he's been on a diet as well. So we're all kind of doing the same thing here. So one of the things I always like to ask is, looking at this trend, what do you think is missing, or what do you think is wrong with these current weight loss trends or the programs? So if we think about our lifestyle in the US, so obesity really is a symptom of a larger epidemic. So a lot of us nowadays are, we're eating not exactly the right things. We have a lot of sugar in our diet. We're eating a lot of fast food. We may be taking a lot of medications that have side effects and alter how our body functions. We may be living a very sedentary lifestyle. Obviously, a lot of us have been working from home. So you may be sitting maybe not in the best ergonomics or with the best positioning when you're working on a computer. You might not be sleeping very well. You may be under a high level of stress. You may even be playing video games and, again, living more of that sedentary lifestyle where you're stuck indoors rather than getting out there and getting active. So the bottom line is we really have started making a lot of poor lifestyle choices, and that's actually caused our body not to work properly, and it started to cause some body dysfunction for us. So one of the things that I have noticed is there's a lot of diets out there, there's a lot of programs out there that people tout are the best thing ever, it's changed their lives. The problem is, yes, those diets can definitely give you short-term results. However, they're not sustainable, and they can actually damage your organs and your systems. So we're going to talk a little bit more about some of these programs. We're going to talk about intermittent fasting. I have a lot of patients that ask me about that, and there are good things and bad things about it. There are certain people that definitely have to be careful when doing that program. We'll talk a little bit more about that. But keto diets, low carb diets, Atkins, the point systems that are out there, calorie counting, and even low fat diets do tend to have some drawbacks. So let's talk about those a little bit more. So when it comes to NUTRISYSTEM, which is another one I hear about quite a bit, NUTRISYSTEM basically is a program where you get mailed a box of food that you will be partaking in. And when we look at that food, we are literally looking at portion control as well as low carb, low fat, basically trying to reduce your calories that you're intaking in hopes that you will lose weight. The only problem is when we have this never have to refrigerate box of food, it's not really the most appetizing. So I'm going to share a little bit of one gal's journey with NUTRISYSTEM and the food that was in there. And it is a little comical. I will give you a link if you want to read more on her blog and her experience with NUTRISYSTEM as well. So the egg frittata, which I got to say looks very appetizing. She described it as powdered eggs mixed with freeze-dried vegetables and powdered cheese. So again, doesn't really sound the most appetizing when you're looking at that description. She also gave a review on the STRUDEL scone, which she said is more like styrofoam that needs effort to break apart and digest. After about 15 minutes, the eater gets so tired from chewing that additional food appears unappetizing. And of course, you're not going to eat if it's unappetizing. So yes, you probably are going to lose some weight. The beef with potatoes, this is probably this was my favorite post of hers. I was cracking up on this one. The smell was sad and the taste was just unpleasant. I ate 3 bites, gave up, tossed it in the trash. My husband and child's cries of disgusting and it stinks did not help me. So as we can tell, Nutrisystem obviously doesn't get the best rave reviews with the taste or smells of their food. So if you want to follow along more, like I said, I've got the link down here for that blog, nutraandme.blogspot.com, if you want to see more of her descriptions and experiences. So Jenny Craig is another one that's pretty popular out there. This one is a little higher end program. So you do get a box as well of some packaged snacks, soups, pastas, things like that. However, what a lot of people don't take into consideration is with these programs, you do have to have additional food to supplement the packaged food. So you may need some vegetables and some fruits and milk and things like that to add into some of those recipes to make them appetizing when you're making those meals. So when you take that into consideration, that program does tend to kind of be pretty pricey because you're looking at that 30-day program plus then the additional food that you need, which we know right now with the prices in our grocery stores, probably a lot more than $100. So I would estimate the starting cost of that program is probably about $600. When it comes to intermittent fasting, which is another, trend or thing that people are looking at more. So when it comes to intermittent fasting, so basically you are going to only eat in a certain time period throughout the day. So if there's 24 hours in a day, you may only eat for 7 to 10 hours of that. You're going to start eating at this time and stop by this time, and you don't eat anything outside of that time period. The problem is if we have a high stress lifestyle where our adrenal gland is kicking in constantly, what tends to happen is that adrenal gland and that high stress level will cause it to overactivate. And that'll cause you to lose muscle, which will cause you to lose metabolism. So when it comes to high stress lifestyles, we need to support that gland so it doesn't become damaged. So if we are skipping meals and not eating for a large period of time, this may not be the healthiest because that's going to cause that gland to become damaged. Another thing to think about is if you do have hormone imbalance going on currently, this is really not a great option. Have that high stress lifestyle when you're skipping meals, that's going to stress your body and stress your hormones. So that can make those problems a lot worse. Couple things to think about as well. When you do intermittent fasting, obviously you're going to have some hunger and cravings, but due to that blood sugar not being supplemented during that time that you're not eating, you may also get some headaches and lightheadedness. You may get some digestive issues from not having food or not eating for a large period of time. We may also get some irritability and mood swings and fatigue and energy problems, again, from that lack of eating during that time period. Some other people have noticed some issues with bad breath and sleep disturbances and dehydration, even malnutrition, because again, they're only eating a short period of the day. Your body can only absorb so much from the food that you're eating, especially if you're only eating in a short period of time. So I always like to say that, when it comes to diets, we have to cheat on them. So we're going to talk a little bit more today about that lifestyle change so that you know how to, number one, get your goals set, but also making sure you don't have to cheat on that diet to get there. So when it comes to point systems or calorie deficit systems, which very similar to the Jenny Craig and the NutriSystem I talked previously, but also Weight Watchers falls into this category. So our concept is that we're going to take less calories in and we're going to create a deficit. So basically your body needs, say, 2,500 calories in a day. You're going to take in 2,000 or less so that your body's constantly burning those calories. The only problem is when you technically take less calories in, it doesn't necessarily mean that you're going to be still burning the same amount. What tends to happen is when it comes to looking at what you're eating, so carbs, protein, and fats, those calories are actually going to add up differently. So even though carbs only are basically 4 calories, typically what that's going to mean is, if you have a carb or a protein, you're going to be losing about 4 calories or gaining 4 calories from that, and fats are 9. However, fats also are going to help with satiety. They're going to help with repair of nerve systems and cell walls. So a lot of times they're going to make you feel full longer, whereas if you're going to be cutting back on carbs or protein or eating more of a low calorie, you may be constantly hungry and overeating due to that lack of fat. So keep that in mind when you're looking at calorie systems. So one thing that I always like to compare to, I love car analogies, but if your car, if you were to take away its gas, does it run better? Not necessarily. Typically, you're going to stall on the side of the road and you're not going to be able to get anywhere. And that's kind of the same for your body. When you take away that fuel that your body needs to run and function properly, you're going to run out of gas and you're not going to be working the best. So again, with this one, we do have side effects, things like low energy and mood swings, Sleep disturbance, skin issues is a big one with this one, typically because we are going to be getting less of those healthy fats that help with our skin. But we also can have some issues with poor temperature regulation because, again, we're lacking that fat that helps with hormone balance and blood circulation. We may be getting some issues with brain fog or food cravings. We're going to actually get a lower metabolism because your body will go into starvation mode and actually lower your metabolism. But we can also see some issues with hormone imbalances, and even your gut and your good bacteria in your gut may not be balanced properly, which can also cause a lot of other health issues for you too. So another thing that we like to think of is when it comes to cheat day, when you go to the gym and you burn some calories, you're like, okay, now I can treat myself because I just burned it all off at the gym. But in reality, portion size is definitely another thing we have to think about. So when it comes to keto, Atkins, or low carb diets, these are very similar to each other, not the same, but similar. When it comes to keto, so that's going to be a high fat, low carb diet with less than 50 grams of carbs per day. When it comes to Atkins, that's going to be a high protein, low carb diet. And typically both of these and pretty much any of these low carb diets are going to be low in some essential vitamins. So we're going to see a lot of times vitamin deficiencies of calcium, vitamin D deficiencies. We'll see magnesium deficiencies, phosphorus, plus your vitamins that are fat soluble. So like B, C, and E, a lot of times can also be lower when it comes to low carb diet. So with this one, you also have to think about the fact that when we cut back on carbs, because fruits and vegetables are carbohydrates as well, when we have that lower fiber, that's going to actually stop feeding those good bacteria. So inside of your gut, you have good bacteria and other bacteria, as I like to call them. So the good bacteria, they literally eat fruits and vegetables, and that's what makes vitamins and minerals. So if you're not giving them what they need, their numbers are going to start to die off, and that can cause all sorts of issues with like milk digestion. So we may see some lactose intolerance, we can see some bloating, we can see stomach pain, we can see even irregular bowel movements or painful bowel movements as well from this. And side effects, like I mentioned before, headaches, dizziness, fatigue, nausea is another one, constipation and dehydration, because again, you're not getting that fiber that feeds those good bacteria to help things move properly in your intestines. We can also see electrolyte imbalances, stress to our kidneys, and also kidney stones, because when you're not getting the proper nutrition balance, that's going to cause those organ systems to work harder, and you may start to notice that we have an increased risk factor for kidney stones. Hypoglycemia is another one because your body has to go from burning carbs, because that's what your brain runs on, and your body runs on. It's going to have to switch to protein or fat to run on, and when that happens, because your body is not prepped for that, it's going to be kind of a rude awakening where your body may not be able to regulate blood sugar balance very well, especially in the first couple weeks. And we can also see impaired bone repair because, again, you're missing some of those essential nutrients that help with bone repair. So for people that already have osteopenia or osteoporosis, definitely not a good option for them. But we can also see chronic health risk, especially if we're doing those diets for a long period of time. I don't see a problem doing them for 2 to 4 weeks, but anything longer than that, not a good idea. So I know a lot of people have done keto. Usually, keto is fine for 30 days to kind of boost your body's, fat burning and things like that. Atkins has been definitely, shown, especially long-term, to be very dangerous. So just be careful if you're going to doing these programs, or if you've done these in the past, please do not do them for more than 30 days. I always laugh about, the people who say, oh, I'm just going to have a little bite. It was just a little piece. But sometimes when it comes down to it, we get those cravings. And as soon as we get that nice sweet taste on our mouth, we kind of get carried away. So what happened? I blacked out. All I remember was saying, I'll try a little piece. So cute kid, I have to say. But that cake definitely got destroyed. So when it comes to the low-fat diet, so low-fat, typically when we're looking at low-fat type of foods, typically they're going to have higher sugar contents. So when we look at things on a label, when it says low-fat, usually there's high sugar. So once you eat it, your body turns it into fat. So it's not necessarily low-fat, but we do need fats to help coat our nerves. They help keep our cell walls flexible, and they also make up our hormones. So when we're going low-fat, we may have some issues with our skin and cell communication, nerve function. We can also see hormone balance issues from that. Side effects include vitamin deficiencies, typically all of your fat-soluble vitamins, but also skin conditions, slower wound healing, hair loss, immune system dysfunction, increased sun sensitivity, mood swings, and hormone imbalance, again, coming from that. So The Rock always cracks me up. If you have not heard of his cheat day, I will tell you it is pretty monumental. So on his cheat day, so a lot of people go by the 80-20 rule, which is basically you're 80% of the time going to eat well, and then 20% of the time you can have what you like, or have a day where you don't necessarily have to be 100% good. So on his legendary cheat day, he had 12 pancakes, 4 double dough pizzas, and 21 brownies. And as you can see, I'm not sure if that's beer or milk, but I'm going to assume it's milk because those are brownies. So as you can see, he kind of overdid it on his cheat day to make up for that clean eating. So again, not necessarily helpful when we're doing that binge eating. That's going to be a huge sugar shock to his system and probably caused a lot of different things to be thrown off by that day. So the 5 things we're doing wrong, so thumbs down on these ones. So number 1, we're relying on the scale, which we'll talk about a little bit more. We'll talk why that scale is kind of misleading. We're also going to talk about not balancing your hormones, because your hormones are going to help you or work against you. We're going to talk about not eating often enough. So that's going to come down to, making sure that you're eating often enough to keep your blood sugar stable. Not eating enough protein, because protein is what your body uses to rebuild and build that muscle and repair a lot of systems in our bodies. And number 5, focusing on the wrong type of exercise. So number 1, relying on the scale. So when it comes to the scale, we have to realize that exercise builds muscle, which can weigh more. So sometimes when we're going into a workout program or we're exercising more, we may notice that our weight stays the same on that scale, and that's because you're building muscle. So you may not see your scale weight change a lot, and that can be pretty deceiving. I have a patient that she may want to jump in and comment on this one, or she might share her story another time, but she was really wanting to trim and tone up. And she came into my office and she said, my weight's not really changing. I'm working out really hard. I'm literally at the gym for an hour every day, and I'm just not seeing any changes. And I explained to her, what, sometimes when you're looking at just the scale, you're not getting the big picture. So we started doing body measurements, and literally all the work she was doing, we were able to see the inches shear off her body in exactly the areas that she was trying to aim for those, even though her weight only changed maybe 1 or 2 pounds. So again, don't always rely on that scale, because it doesn't necessarily give you the big picture. So again, you may lose inches, but not necessarily numbers or pounds on the scale. So BMI, like I talked about previously, is not really an accurate predictor of health, because it doesn't account for your body fat percentage or the distribution of that fat where it could be, because you can have body fat in specific areas of your body, but you can also have it surrounding your organ systems, which can be very unhealthy. It's called visceral fat. So not balancing hormones. So those of you who have not been to my office or heard me ever talk about this before, I call the adrenal gland the queen gland, or king gland if you're a male. And the adrenal gland is really like, she is literally running the show, or he is running the show if you're male. So the adrenal gland, typically, that gland produces a hormone called cortisol. Cortisol runs everything in your whole entire body. So that's going to help anytime your blood sugar drops, your gland kicks in to help your blood sugar rise. Anytime you're stressed, that gland kicks in to help out with that. And whether it's physical, emotional stress, any of those things, that's going to cause that adrenal gland to say, nope, we need all these resources to make cortisol. When that happens, it's a great thing. However, when we're chronically overworking that joint or that gland can actually start stealing and shutting down other body systems. So an example of this would be when the adrenal gland is overworked, it will start stealing away some resources that actually help boost your immune function. So a lot of times, if we're under a lot of chronic stress, and again, it doesn't have to be mental or physical stress, but any stress that's causing that cortisol to rise, so that could be improper imbalanced blood sugar as well, your body will take away resources, and we can start to see where we are, number 1, having immune function issues. So you might be getting sick more often, or noticing that when you do injure yourself, it's taking longer to heal. Those are all symptoms that adrenal gland might not be working how it's supposed to. Another thing to be affected is thyroid function. So if your adrenal gland is stressed, it will actually shut down and depress thyroid function to make more cortisol. So for those of you who have had thyroid issues in the past or are currently dealing with those, that may be another factor as to why that thyroid was not working properly. For those of you who have sleep issues, when cortisol increases, it actually will stop your sleeping hormones from being produced. And it's going to steal away some of those precursors that eventually turn into melatonin to help you sleep as well. So again, if you're having sleeping issues, you may actually have a hormone imbalance issue that could be causing that. Sex and mood hormones, so whether you are having issues with painful periods or a lack of a period or issues with fertility, or maybe you just have crazy mood swings all over the place, those hormones again can be stolen away for the adrenal gland to work properly. And we can also see digestion and metabolism be affected by that too. So when that adrenal gland is overworked, it can actually slow down or shut down digestion, and we can start to see issues with heartburn, we can start to see issues with bloating, or even irritable bowel type symptoms. But also, it's going to lower your metabolism. We'll talk a little bit more about that too. So just keep in mind that if you're not addressing the rest of your hormones and making sure they're all on the same page to lose weight, we may be running into some issues. So stress signals, so that's going to be any stress. Like I said, that could be your blood sugar dropping, that could be, stress at work, doing too many things, not getting enough sleep. Any of that stress is going to signal cortisol. And that cortisol is going to tell your body, hey, break down this muscle. We don't need it. We need blood sugar. So break down the muscle and go ahead and make blood sugar. When we do that, though, we're losing muscle, which means we're losing muscle mass and metabolism. It's also going to lower your thyroid function. And like I said, it's also going to affect other digestive systems and metabolism. You're going to actually crave sugar. So for those of you that like to or tend to crave sweet things, that may mean your adrenal gland is kicking into gear and overworking itself. And when we see that high blood sugar rises or blood sugar rises due to those things, so whether you are breaking down muscle or having those sugar cravings and giving in and eating some sweet things, when we have that high blood sugar, that's going to signal insulin. And insulin is going to tell your body, hey, send all that sugar to the muscle or the liver, and we're going to make it into fat, and we're going to store that fat because we're going to need that later on. It's also going to lower your thyroid function again, and it's going to increase your blood pressure and increase your estrogen, which is going to cause you to gain fat and conserve fat. So for those of you who are women that have been having issues with craving sugar and hormone imbalance and having issues where you cannot lose weight no matter what you do, even if you eat less or you've eaten the same thing and nothing has changed, this may be exactly what's going on for you. So when it comes to not eating often enough, so I always like to say what you eat in your body is going to increase your blood sugar. Your body's going to respond and lower that back down. Now, if you eat cake and things like that, your blood sugar is going to rise way up high, and then your body's going to crash. If we are eating things like broccoli, which only increases a little bit, and we're eating more frequently, that's going to help our roller coaster to stay a little bit more calm rather than the loop-de-loos we see in this picture here. So keep in mind that blood sugar metabolism is a huge part of signaling whether your body's going to burn or store the food that you're eating. So when you skip meals or we have low blood sugar from whatever it may be, that's going to cause that adrenal gland to release cortisol, which is going to cause your body to break down the muscle, make blood sugar, which again is going to signal insulin and all that other fun stuff we just talked about. So irregular meals can also cause your body to go into starvation mode and keep your metabolism low. So we need to make sure we're eating often enough, but we also need to make sure we're getting plenty of protein. So protein can be anything from plant-based sources to protein drinks and powders and protein bars or actual protein itself. So protein is actually inversely related to abdominal fat. This is some of the newer research that has been coming out. So that means that if you are getting a high protein diet, you're less likely to have fat gaining in that abdominal area or storing in that abdominal area. So when you get more and better types of protein, you're going to have less belly fat, which is a big bonus if that's where you're trying to lose it. So protein can actually help to also reduce your food cravings by 60%. It can boost your metabolism by 80 to 100 calories a day, so you're burning more, and it's going to help you eat fewer calories. So protein really can have a huge impact on when you're trying to lose weight because it's going to help make sure that we're not getting as many cravings and overeating. It's going to help our body burn more and eat less so that we're feeling full and we're not overeating and getting too many calories. Typically, I like to say that when it comes to protein, you want to aim for about 0.5 gram to 3/4 gram per pound of body weight. So if you're 100 pounds, that's 50 to 75 grams per day. So I got to grab some water here. I'm talking too much. All right. And then number 5 is focusing on the wrong type of exercise. So we all know so many different types of exercise out there. So there are cardio style of exercises. So this can be simply running on a treadmill or elliptical or a bike. We can also see some cardio with just doing sports and things like that. We can see resistance exercise or yoga type exercises can also be included in there, and then actual weightlifting. So when it comes down to it, we have to realize that when we are doing cardio, we could be running 5 miles a week, every single week, and we're going to burn about 7 pounds of fat, which that sounds pretty good, right? But when it comes to actually building muscle, so when you are exercising to build your muscle mass up, when you add 5 pounds of muscle, you're actually going to be burning 18 pounds of fat. So you can work a lot less hard when you are building muscle rather than just doing cardio. So when it comes to exercise, we have to make sure we have a blend of things because cardio is definitely very great for your cardiovascular health and keeping your lean mass a little bit thinner so you're not bulking up, but a blend of things is always going to be the best. So when it comes to over exercising, because that's another problem I see as well, you don't necessarily need to go to the gym daily, and you don't need to spend 2 hours at the gym either. Most effective workouts can be completed in 30 to 45 minutes, and you may only need to do those 2 to 3 times a week, especially if you're trying to stay active with doing other types of activities that are not in a gym throughout the week. So really it comes down to, number 1, focusing on building muscle in multiple body areas so that when you walk around, you're using those muscles, and that means your metabolism is going to be high, and it's going to be much easier for you to lose weight. So is weight loss a quick fix or a lifestyle change? So when it comes down to it, if we think about quick fixes, right? So some of those programs we talked about earlier, those may be 30 days where you're losing a bunch of weight. But when it comes down to it, we need to make sure that we are eating the right things to boost our metabolism so that we have long-term results of that. We need to make sure we are eating often enough and getting enough protein. We need to make sure we support organs that may have been damaged or have dysfunctional issues going on, or if we have other chronic health conditions, we may need to support those and look at some supplements or some nutritional things to help those out. And then, of course, getting the right type of exercise, because we need to make sure we are building muscle. So if we look at these things on the list, this is definitely more of a lifestyle change, not a quick fix. If you're looking for a quick fix, I guarantee you that's not what this is tonight. We're not a quick fix. We're trying to make a lifestyle change so that we have sustainable and permanent results for your health. So we need to make sure we're targeting fat loss and boosting those muscle gains so that your body can raise its metabolism and burn it off while you're sitting there on the couch eating popcorn, if that may be what you like to eat. So here's where I can help. So number one, in my office, typically, because we are a chiropractic and holistic health center, we're able to do a holistic consultation. So we can actually sit down with you to evaluate what's going on with your organs, what's going on with your body, and see if we might have any issues with hormone imbalance, digestive issues, or even thyroid problems that could be causing some issues for your weight loss goals. If you are having pain or you're having issues with getting back to your workout, we can do a chiropractic examination to figure out what's going on and why you have that pain and get a plan in place to make that pain manageable so you can get back to working out or doing what you love. And then also we provide nutritional and supplement support to help make sure you're able to burn fat and build muscle. And then of course, we also have the program I mentioned that we're going to be talking about next, that Freedom Healthy Weight program. And that's going to be literally like a hand-holding program with all the resources you need to make those changes and make them sustainable. So chiropractic in a nutshell, if you haven't heard of chiropractic before, so chiropractic basically, when it comes down to it, means that we have our bones stacked on top of one another in the spine, and between those bones, we have a cartilage disc. And the space between the bones and that cartilage helps to make sure we have a hole, which is where our nerves go through. So if we have any damage to that cartilage, if we have any damage or arthritis in that area, that can put pressure on the nerve. And what can happen is we can actually have either the joint misaligns or arthritis or joint damage can cause pressure on the nerve, which can lead to pain. So chiropractors are one of the only doctors that are actually able to find and correct misalignments of your spine to make sure we're getting not only pain relief in our spine, but also affecting those other nerves that go to our joint system. So in your neck, those nerves actually go down to your fingertips. In your lower back, those go all the way down to your feet. So you may actually have joint issues going on that could be causing that pain, even down in your feet area. So we're able to actually assess that in our office and make a plan to help you get back on the right track. Metatrim is another product. These are one of the supplements that typically for patients that are trying to lose weight that maybe just want a little bit of a boost or a little bit of help. Metatrim is a great one. It's actually going to help to make sure that you are increasing your fat loss. It's going to help you to build muscle a little bit faster. It's going to remove toxins from your energy cells so you can keep your energy up. And it's also going to help support your cardiovascular health and make sure you can respond and actually recover a little bit better after workout. So when it comes to Metatrim, typically, as long as you're healthy and there's no other health issues, you can take 3 daily and you can do it twice a day, just depending on how much exercise you're doing. I usually say 3 a day works best for people that are in an exercise program currently. If you're a huge muscle weightlifter or doing a lot of weightlifting, you can always do that twice a day as well. So with the Freedom Healthy Weight program, so this is a 12-week program. This is going to be physician managed. That means you're going to be coming in to see me once a week and also doing consultations so that we can kind of look at how you're doing. If you're having issues, what can we do to help with that? So this is going to be a mix of planning and tools to actually help you execute that plan and meet your goals. So we'll be providing support in the office, so kind of reviewing and grading what you've been doing. And if you're having issues, we're going to help you stay accountable so that you can actually get back on track if you've fallen off, or give you an idea about how to move in a better direction. So again, that's a 12-week program. We do have optional laboratory work as well that we can add in. So if you're having hormone balance issues, or maybe if we just want to see our health improve over that 12 weeks, or if you haven't had annual labs done, we're actually going to be taking blood markers so we can see your body and health change over time. So everything from cholesterol levels to your iron and digestive metabolism as well, we'll be able to measure with those labs. We will be doing monthly one-on-one consultations. So you're going to have an initial consultation sitting down with me, going over your goals, any hurdles that you have, and kind of making a plan for how we're going to do this right for you. And then we'll have a halfway point consultation just to see how you're doing, see if we need to modify that at all or change something. And then at the very end to review everything you've been able to achieve over that program. So on a weekly basis, we will meet to do a weigh-in and measurement. So we're going to be doing body measurements as well as body fat measurements, so we can actually maintain those and look at those over time. We're going to have a food journal that you'll be filling out so that we can actually go through making sure you're eating often enough, making sure you're getting enough protein, and also an exercise log. So if you are doing exercise on a regular basis, we can see, hey, looks like we're doing, a lot of cardio, let's add a little bit more weightlifting. Or hey, you know what, we're not exercising often enough, or that sort of thing. So kind of grading and give you some feedback. And then each week we'll have a different topic and education to kind of go over or improve your knowledge of how to do things. So some of those may be looking at everything from meal planning and how to do that to actually logging things in that journal. Also with this program, a lot of times the hardest thing people have is, I don't want to eat the same thing all the time. So I actually put together a little pamphlet that goes over spices and seasonings and marinades, how to make your own, what to use those on, and that sort of thing. So you'll have different spices and things that you can use to change the taste of different foods so that you have a little bit more variety. Also, like I mentioned, we do have optional labs to look at blood markers, hormones, supplements to add in to help make sure that you're burning fat. And also, if we need to do any support for digestive systems or other health issues, we can also add that into and just make sure we're managing and improving that as well. So with those measurements, we're going to start with basically your height, weight, and BMI. I know BMI, I don't like it, but I'm still going to do it anyways. But we're also going to look at our body inches measurement, so actually measuring around our neck and our arms and our waist and our chest, so we can see those changes in inches in our body so we know where we've been able to target and lose the most. We're also going to be doing body fat measurements in multiple areas of your body, so we're going to be able to see where your body is burning fat at and see how much of a body change you've had, not just with inches, but also with where you've burned that fat and the percentage that you've lost of your fat loss. So we'll be able to look at the total inches you've lost, as well as the total fat percentage that you've lost in your body too. So when it comes to pricing, so typically if we look at some of those programs, so Nutrisystem, depending on what you're ordering, that varies anywhere from $257 to $418 a month. Jenny Craig's a little bit pricier, typically starts at about $390 a month, all the way up to $788. Just remember, you also have to have supplemental food, so that can be even higher than that. And then Weight Watchers has kind of changed their program now, so they have an app now that includes a food plan and tracking for things. They also include recipes and workouts. That ranges from $22 to $60 a month. If you want to go in for weigh-ins, they charge more. If you want to have consultations, they charge more. If you want to go in for a workshop, they charge more for that. So there's a lot of different variables with that plan. The Freedom Healthy Weight Program is going to have weekly food, water, and exercise tracking, recipe ideas, meal plan support, exercise support, labs, weekly check-ins. And that's going to be, if you want to include just the blood marker labs, it's $210 a month for that 12-week program. With the blood marker labs, if you're not looking for doing labs, you already have those, it'll be $110 a month for that. So I am looking for 10 beta testers. So actually tonight, I'll be looking for 10 beta testers that want to sign up for that program. We're gonna have some pretty significant savings. So if you're interested in that, please contact me, send me an email, freedomchh@gmail.com. That's freedomchh@gmail.com if you're interested in that program. I will probably also be adding a new tab on our website for people that are wanting to do that program and follow along with that. So thank you so much for tuning in tonight. Hopefully you learned some things, and I hope that you're able to put these things into practice. And like I said, if you're interested in that Freedom Healthy Weight Program, please contact me. You can go to our website, freedompeoria.org, or you can send me an email, freedomchh@gmail.com. So thanks again for tuning in tonight. And like I said, hopefully you learned something today. And are able to really put this into practice and really get some benefit from this as well.